It's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and the not-so-best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 18th of April to the 25th of April. I decided to watch One Piece. Like, I binged, like, half of Marineford, the second half of Marineford this morning, and I didn't start watching videos until 4 p.m., and now it's 8 p.m. But it was worth it. It was great. Now for some videos I thought were decent. Pretty good. This first one's from this guy, Yamisen. And I had seen this guy pop up in Digest comments. He's like, whoa. And so I'm like, all right, I'll subscribe. So I checked out his video, the anime where Disney princesses are dragons. And then I'm like, wait, what is this? I have no idea. But an interesting concept. I'm like, okay. And it's about Burn the Witch, specifically. I guess I didn't know that, but maybe if you recognize this dragon from Burn the Witch, it's like, oh, okay. But I just wanted to highlight it because, like, I really like his sense of humor and the energy and kind of fast pace of it. The music choices were really good. I was just like, ooh, did I? Like, you gotta give him the P number one? Like, oh, did it goated? You know? And, you know, I really liked the attitude mostly in the first half, where it was very GIF-centric and, like, jokey a lot. And I don't know, I just had a really good energy to it. And then when he starts talking about it, it becomes a little more conventional, a little more, like, yeah, just kind of a Burn the Witch video. Sure, I've seen videos like this before. And doesn't dwell too long. It's only a 4-minute video and stuff. And I like that. It's kind of like nice burst of stuff. It's a good energy. But, you know, I don't know. The focus with, like, the Disney princesses, I don't think was such a huge thing. Or it just felt like it was mentioned in places, I guess. I don't know. But maybe I was just kind of, like, distracted by just his energy and the humor and things like, and kind of wrapped up in the aesthetic of the video to not really absorb that much of what he was saying, at least in that second half. Because, I don't know, I've seen so many of these of anime YouTube videos. If a video ends up having that very typical, like, script, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's weird. But, you know, I was kind of feeling that. But I really like kind of the jazz, kind of manic almost sort of energy in that first half. I really liked that. Maybe I feel maybe it kind of, like, not petered out, but, like, I don't know. And especially even toward, like, the end and just the whole package, it just kind of felt like you're really excited to make videos and stuff like that, and it's just, I don't know, it's infectious. I like it. It's nice. I enjoyed the video. It was a good time. So GeeXPlus is starting to make their own videos, and that GeeXPlus, if you don't know, is the people responsible for bringing Trash Taste along with a lot of other YouTubers, Sitsnap's included as well, to Japan, and the whole kind of newish endeavor and stuff, and you know, I think a lot of people just, like, automatically cite it as, like, oh, they're bought out by Katakawa and shit like that. But, like, I don't know. If you really engage with their content, it doesn't really feel like they're in their pocket in the same way. It always I feel like you just kind of, like, assume that, or if you're not, like, if you get bad vibes from them, you can judge however you want about their content or their character or whatever. But really, I mean, if you gauge in them in good faith and kind of, like, in, you know, really, I don't know, especially with the other YouTubers that are not part of Trash Taste, you know, like, a lot of them are just kind of, like, doing their thing, and they seem like chill people. There was one person, I forgot the name, but this one guy that they kind of add at the end, I think it was sort of like a, not afterthought, that's a little mean, but, like, basically what this video is structured as is kind of as a playful way to introduce all the different talent that they have at you know, with this program. And that includes the Trash Taste guys, as well as Sitsnap and those two, Emichu and the other guy. I've seen Connor collab with them a lot, but they seem nice. I don't really watch much of their stuff, though. And then some other people I hadn't heard of, and I meant to subscribe to one guy because it seemed like an anime channel. But, you know, based on, like, how they were talking and certain things like that, I'm like, oh, they're a little more casual surface level, and that's not a bad thing. It's like, okay. But then there's this one other guy, and he had, like, a more, like, of a... It was weird. The production value on this video is a little weird. Because on one hand, it does have some kind of polish and nice edits in places. And then that one guy that kind of have at the end. I think it was sort of separated from the group almost, because I think maybe after the fact. His set's really nice and stuff like that, but I think that's from him on his end. But like some of the audio stuff was weird because they were like, I don't know, poor audio equipment or peaking, and I don't know. It was just oddly unpolished for something that you'd sell with GeeXPlus's channel or something like that. I don't know. There's something about it. Otherwise, it's really just kind of harmless fun, like just asking questions about each other. Like, what do you think is Connor's favorite anime or Garnt's favorite food and such, and kind of going around to different, what they think, and, poking fun and being a little like tongue-in-cheek and, dunking on Maylene and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just kind of like not ordinary, I guess is not really the word. It's not as big of a grand operation as I think people might be thinking or assuming based on like the posh and like how successful Trash Taste has become. I think there's, this video I think actually kind of gives that game up almost in terms of its not as quite polished look to it. There's some edits that are kind of well done. But then there's other really kind of fundamental video stuff in terms of the video quality and audio quality that's like, okay. Just like not what you would expect, I guess. That I just wanted to talk about because it's interesting and fun and, YouTuber related. So I kind of I get tracked to that, like, what is the fucking, well, I guess it's just like flies to a light or something. I don't know. Whatever. I'm a sucker for this side of content is what I should be saying. But yeah, it was interesting. It might be time for a haircut. It's just maybe. Whatever. Gigguk. Anime fandoms in a nutshell. He changed the thumbnail for this one. Because I remember it was like a Nezuko thing and like her holding the phone and it's like mid and like, ugh, and I was looking forward to that kind of discussion. It feels a little more amorphous in general from what he's made in the past, from what he's made recently. Like most recently, it's been a little more specific and manga centric or whatever, or maybe even experimental, kind of doing a unique thing or something. But this one really feels like he's falling back on a familiar formula, and it does, and even the editing too. But a lot of this is just like, this feels like you made this in 2018 and just forgot to release it. And they're only now releasing it, you know what I mean? But it's got a couple modern jokes here and there, so you don't fully feel that way. But the aesthetics of it and kind of how Bakashift edits it, a lot of it feels like that, like life cycle of an anime fan type of video, And I think that's not to everybody's taste. I don't feel like this is like his best foot forward type of thing. But again, he does mention at the end of the video that he's back in England right now, going to stay there a little while, traveling a lot. So like the output's not going to decrease. But when he said that, I was just like, okay, I can see why this doesn't have the recent streak, I guess, of Gigguk really trying to do different things and trying to try. Not that he doesn't try in this video or any previous video. But just to, try new things, I guess. Or just be more ambitious with his content or trying different stuff, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But this does feel like kind of a big throwback in a very significant way. And I almost didn't really want to talk about it for that reason, because it was just sort of like, I've seen stuff like this before from you, and it doesn't add too much. I mean, I got a laugh out of me here and there, referencing certain recent stuff or whatever, but like otherwise it didn't really, it's similar, very kind of like of his wheelhouse back then, where it's very sarcastic or easily dunking on easy points. I think, I don't know, it was okay, but yeah. I also liked his breakdown of mid, actually. I did like that point as well. Anyway, yeah, I don't have too much to say about it, though. I forgot how I found this guy, but I subscribed to him recently, and then he commented on my Ninku video that was like, oh my god, I saw that you subscribed, and wow, this is great. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I'll check out your recent video on Full Metal Alchemist. Is important video essay. Even though, it's not my cup of tea. you know, Full Metal Alchemist. Okay. All right. I'm not. I'm cool, but it's just I've seen a lot of those, and then also is important. Like, okay, what exactly are you saying, right? um, and then I think he really leans on the like. There's two things from this video that I actually thought were really kind of interesting. If like otherwise, I would not to dunk on it. I'm sorry. I don't want to be mean, but like the two big things that really stood out to me that was really nice of note, I think, the polish in this video is really good. I really like, and maybe I'm just a sucker for like the opacity layer stuff. And some of the edits you're making, I'm like, oh, that is nice. As someone who makes similar edits or kind of aesthetic and stuff. Although I think that the footage, like the little stock footage, like a little flicker that he adds to the whole video, pretty much is really nice. I just like the polish on this, and it's a nice looking FMA video, and like there's also the choice of clips. There were some moments where I was just like, this is from FMA, or I don't know what it was. Where like I don't know if you added something or if this is really like from the ED or OP, and I just don't remember. But there's some things about this where I'm just like, this is a really nice looking video. Just the choice of clips, as well as the transitions of things, and little AMV sections here and there. I'm like, oh yeah, a kindred spirit, It's just a fun, it's engaging. And also, I think that you do dabble a little bit later in the, but I remember admiring at like the midpoint or third way point or something that like there was no pretense of like O3 Brotherhood manga, because there's a lot of that's really the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to this series at this point, at least what it feels like to me, and that's what's always on my mind too. And I just like that you're just talking about FMA and had nothing to do with like comparing the original, and you're using all of it very interchangeably, and I liked that actually, because it's just like, you're talking about the fundamental story and not like the specifics. And then later you do bring up kind of like a difference in Mustang's character with O3 versus Brotherhood. And it's like, yeah. It's been, I just see that a lot, you know what I mean? The other thing that I really liked that was just sort of stand out to me that I don't see too often, if that's enough build up for you, is the use of other references from other media, and not simply anime. Using the great power comes great responsibility line very explicitly from Spider-Man, and like using the Spider-Man like movies as audio, I guess, but then like applying it to Fullmetal Alchemist. I think that's really interesting. And then also like a little later, there was something else, but then the end of the video, you're like, I watched the Batman for the second time, and I was in the middle of writing the script, and it all clicked or whatever, however you phrase it, and having like the red filter with something in the way, and kind of relating it to what you're talking about, and the connecting the dots and like in your head in that, or connecting the wires, I guess, of the two things that you're experiencing, and like that sort of like media consumption, or like not consumption, I guess, like synthesis. It's like if I was like making my Naruto video, and then I suddenly referenced what something that reminds me of the Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, because that's something I was reading at the time, or a mecha that I was watching, because I've been watching a lot of mecha this year. Like having that influence what I'm currently talking about or thinking, or digesting, I guess, which is great. I really like that. And there was another moment that felt similar. I don't remember precisely what it was, but it just felt like, being able to synthesize other pieces of media, even if it's not anime, which was really cool, and I really liked that. The rest of it, I think, like, it's very similar to what I was saying with Yamisen, where there's this script voice, or like cliches, I guess. And I know cliches are usually kind of framed in a kind of a dirty word, right? It's sort of like, oh no, cliched, It is used kind of negatively. But they're cliches for a reason, and they're tropes. I think tropes is kind of the nice way to put it, but like it's sort of I can't give you specifics. I'm so sorry that I don't want to like, because I can't. I don't really take notes for these, a lot of the digests and stuff, but there's just something about certain sentences or turns of phrases or something that just is like, or it's like, this relates to this character or something like that. And actually, my favorite video this week does similar things, but it's only because it's that creator that does it, and also the other things he's bringing to that like it kind of works out for me. But just the kind of the way you talk about Fullmetal Alchemist feels very similar to a lot of other essayists. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not like dunking on it for anything like that. But just to me, as someone who watches a lot of essays and makes my own video essays, it is hard to engage really fully when it ends up being very similar, I guess. And I don't know, I can't give you the first thing of examples in the video of like that, but also like, I can't give you too many like what to do different. You know, I guess the big thing that I can remember, that I can usually recall, is sort of like what the thing that I liked with your video was bringing in different perspectives and from different media, and also just making the video an experience. You know, even if I'm not totally engaging with the concrete things that you're saying in the video, I like how you're presenting it. I like when you're bringing up examples and things like that. And, you know, the experience of the video is really nice. And that's what I enjoy about your video here. Anyway, just food for thought. I don't know how useful it is to be like, oh, it's cliche. I don't know. It's probably, that's why I don't like throwing it around. Because it's like, what, who cares? you know, I've been reading this, I don't know if you guys know, I've been streaming on this second channel, the Anime Encyclopedia. I've been reading this entire book, the entire encyclopedia, and comparing it to the third edition. And they don't only include entries about, you know, the synopses and what the anime is, but they sometimes, not always, but sometimes they also give their opinion, and they can say it's cliches and hackneyed plots and whatever. And I never engage with that. I'm never just like, I better stay away. I'm just like, what does that mean? Like, okay, sure. Sure, maybe it just doesn't, I don't know. So, I mean, I that's why I try not to say that stuff here, but it's just an observation to me where it's like, why I'm not saying anything particular of substance of your video is because a lot of it goes through me, basically. I'm just like, yeah, it's Fullmetal Alchemist, you know, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's interesting to you, or whatever. Yeah, I enjoyed this fun video from 1,000 Stupid Words. I haven't talked about their channel before. Drawing the Boys from Trash Taste. Yeah, just those three, and it's 3 hosts. I think it's 2 from this particular channel, and then John from Mercury Falcon, or Falco, joins them. And he draws Joey, while one of them draws Garnt, and one of them draws Connor. And, you know, different styles and kind of different things. And they're just shooting the shit. It's very similar to, like, Oni Plays' drawing videos. You know what I mean? He's made those kinds of videos in the past. And they're always just kind of, like, talking about the subject and having fun with what they're drawing and stuff like that. 2 of these, I think, they were speed drawings, and then they're just kind of talking over it as that's happening. And then John's is the only live feed as he's drawing, and they're actually reacting to it. And I do think that is when the video is kind of the strongest in engagement with like the material that you're showing, because they're commenting on it, right, and kind of clowning on it a little bit. Not that they don't do that for the other 2, but I do think having it just a speed drawing, it makes you just kind of talk generally. It's like a commentary, and it's just a different vibe. You're not directly engaging with it in the same way as it's developing, and I think that just leads to different commentary. And that's just something I found interesting about that. All the drawings are fun. And the other thing I really wanted to mention about this that I really appreciated is that it's really like it's a rare instance with these kind, like, I feel like these channels and other places that I've seen, it's like, you know, Trash Taste is this really big, it's the biggest anime podcast, and it always feels like a lot of people make content around it but don't necessarily engage with it in as if they've actually seen it. And the way that Thousand Stupid Words and Falco and these guys have talk about Trash Taste in this video, and, you know, poking fun at it, of course, they're poking fun of it while clearly having actually watched it and referencing their content directly. Relevant as well, like making it, like, including Iron Mouse and talking about the food stuff and the pizza crust and shit like that. It doesn't feel like surface level observations. It actually feels like you're engaging with them concretely. So I really appreciate that. It doesn't feel like you're just kind of drawing them because they're popular, you know? You're drawing them because you have an interest in them, because you engage with their content in a tangible way. So I really appreciated that. I just wanted to make mention of it. But I really like these videos. They're really chill. You guys are really charming, funny, have good chemistry with each other. John was a really good guest. Yeah, I just really liked it. It was a good time. All right. And now what I thought were the best videos of the week. The ones where I was like, wow, I liked that a lot. And this first one is from Infinite Show Productions. She had a name, but I don't remember what it is. I'm sorry. I'm the worst. But I got recommended this by Shannon. Shannon Strucci. I'm also going to mess that name up because I'm the worst. But like Shannon is a YouTuber and found, you know, happened to see my Lupin video, and I really appreciate it, and we follow each other and stuff. And she retweeted this video, and this is Infinite Show Productions' first video. I should just look at the name. It's gonna be annoying when. Sorry. Sheesh. What is it? Delaney. Yeah. Okay. That's right. Sorry. Do your research. Sheesh. No. Yeah. So this is Delaney's first video. Miyazaki's Lupin. Good. I'm very interested. But you know, I also lay a little on my guard as someone who's made when you make a video on something and then you're watching another person make a video on the same subject. I do think there's that kind of level of like, all right, what do you got? What do you got to fucking say? Not in a super aggressive, but like inherently, innate, you know? Like, you can't help it. Or maybe you've wanted to make a video on this sort of thing, and it's like, oh, are they going to say what I was going to say? Or type of thing, right? And I really like the focus, where it's really just part one, and I like that she divides it into before Miyazaki and after Miyazaki, really closely analyzing it in terms of tone and content. I really liked how much she focused on part one, actually. The majority of the video is. And I liked how much, like, really engaging with the material and talking about specific episodes and having fun with it. I also could just tell, I just really liked what really kind of made this fun and the best video for me is just Delaney's kind of delight and joy out of watching Lupin and really coming at it as a real Lupin fan. Which is great. And it's sort of like, it's the sort of engagements that I see on Twitter from the people that I follow or engage with, you know, having, you know, and then like seeing that manifest in a video itself is really great. It's like really fun and nice. But yeah, I just liked how much she was engaging with part one specifically. And then mentions Cagliostro, and she has her own article that she links. But I like the amount that she focuses on, and also she doesn't say anything too annoying or like, because Cagliostro is like my top 5 anime films. I love the piss out of the movie. It's still the best Lupin anything, in my view. And I've seen all of it, but you know, so when she starts talking about it, I'm like, don't you fucking yeah. But it's all good. It's a very good discussion, very good observations. And I was the whole video I was like, I hope she talks about the part 2 episodes, and she does at the end, which was great. But it does feel a little tacked on at the end, because it feels like it makes sense that Cagliostro is the last thing that Miyazaki touches for Lupin, but it's not quite. There's the part 2 episode. She's like, ugh. And And I wasn't the biggest fan of how she kind of glosses over 145 and mostly talks about 155. I like the observations for 155 a lot, and I just really like what she talks about with Lupin and Zenigata specifically. The observations were great. This is good thematic and just character-based analysis, and kind of and keeping the franchise as a whole in mind and not saying anything super grand. I think there's a couple times where she probably goes a little too far of like generalizing the show and the series in places, but that's okay. There was also one moment I remember where she says something like Miyazaki never writes characters blah blah blah, or just like on this they're always very like what you see is what you get kind of character. She says something along those lines. But then I was thinking, and she's referring to like Lupin, and I'm like, how much did he write of Lupin? And I was like, I immediately, because I think she was referring to the part 2 episode, or no, she was referring to part 1. I think she was still talking about part 1 in a place when she said that, I think. And then I went to part 1's A&N. I was just like, who's the screenplay for Lupin? And I mean, I could probably check all of those names to see if they're pen names. They could have been for Miyazaki, but it doesn't seem like he wrote any, and it's just a nitpick. And it's also like, sure, if him being the director, there is certainly things that he can do to alternate and like change in places but is he writing it? You know what I mean? There's a little gray area for me. I don't try to argue that Dazaki wrote anything when it comes to the stuff that he directed. He wasn't a writer. He was a storyboarder, very heavily storyboarded a lot of his stuff, and he has very close presence for a lot of his work, and that's why his directing style is so pronounced, is because it's all in the shot composition and storyboarding, which he has very specific control over. But yeah, anyway, so that was a little weird, but it's a small nitpick. It's not a big deal. And you probably have a point where in some places where it's like, yeah, he probably has some influence on the writing being the director, but not give credit where credit is due is what I'm saying. But otherwise, I just really liked the energy, kind of the wide-eyed enthusiasm, I guess. And a lot of the side, like the breaking out from the script and the things like that, it did feel like you've made videos before, and maybe you have. But it kind of didn't feel like a first video in that regard. Sometimes it does, and then other times it's just like, yeah, this is nice. But yeah, this was just a really good time. Really congrats on a first video being this kind of like this particular subject, I guess, and then this long, and it comes out pretty decently. I will also say it was an interesting visual choice to make everything 4x3 and including the Cagliostro and Mamo, which, Miyazaki would have probably not liked you doing. Not that he gives a shit, but like, it reminded me of the whole thing with Warriors of the Wind and the first time Nausicaa was brought over to the West, they chopped the sides of the screen because all the boxes are like, it was a TV. It was made for VHS for whatever. And so like all the TVs are like that. So they're just like chop. And that's where and also that on top of them cutting scenes and stuff. That's why Miyazaki sent that katana to Harvey Weinstein and says no cuts. So, but yeah, I mean, that's something I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I get you wanted to be consistent with all the part 1 footage you're showing and all of the other stuff. But then in that case, I was like, yeah, okay. So, but if you wanted to make it 4x3, you can export the video in 4x3 and put it on YouTube like that. But it's not a big deal. And I've talked about it in other places. It's just an artistic thing that I do, and I don't know why too many other YouTubers do. I think it's cool and interesting if you're going to use nothing but 4x3 footage. Although you don't, and then you're going to just make all of it 4x3. I don't know. Even like the Ghibli film, but I get that was for copyright too. Not a bad strat. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good time, really good time. The Canipa Effect, Mecha Never Dies, a Bandai Namco story, and yeah, it's just another Canipa Effect in the past. What can I say? I really appreciated the focus, and he's like, oh, I wanted to make this mech video for so long, and it came out super cynical. And again, I don't think he comes off that way in this, because yeah, he talks about like the metaverse and all the kind of crappy things that Bandai Namco's doing. He's like, oh, please don't make NFTs and shit like that. But the way he always enthusiastically presents his videos, not just in his voice, but even in his writing, I don't think he really, it never feels miserable. You know, it doesn't feel like, oh, Bandai Namco, you know, not even, and so like even the wording can do that. Even if you have it in an enthusiastic way, if the writing is irritable, then the video can be irritable. Even if you present it in a kind of a nice, you know, energetic, positive way. But I think Canipa does a great job in never making his videos feel miserable. Even if he's talking about stuff like anime being a broken industry and things like, or Crunchyroll paying for poor translation stuff. I think he just does a great job making his videos feel upbeat, even though he might not be talking about the most upbeat subjects. I also like that he really expanded it past the Bandai Namco stuff and talked about mecha as a whole in ways that, like, finally, you know, just like something tangible and not just kind of like, it's not dead, guys. He's just like, yeah, it's not dead, but here's the way that investors see it as, and it can't exist in any other way in such and such. And talking about like 2D mechs versus 3D mechs, I liked how, you know, giving the personal opinions about Build Fighters being his favorite anime, and then how like the latest one, it's like the writing's awful, and it's like they don't care about the story. It's not it's secondary to, and these like, and credits Gundam Build Fighters specifically to those two writers, I guess, that moved on to My Hero Academia's anime. So I mean, like, giving credit, and it was just really, really nice, real professional. You know, he's again top dog, one of the top dogs in the space, really. But like for industry stuff, for like, you know, informative news, not even news really. I don't want to call it stuff news, but just like this caliber, he's matchless. He really is matchless, I think. Makes really great shit. Jesus Christ. Very interesting. Very good stuff. I really liked this PhenomSage video, One Piece and the legendary anime director you've never heard of. And I was just like, damn, that shit fast. Because, like, this is relevant to 1015. And it uses footage from 1015. But, and you got me a little bit. You got me a little irritable at points. Because you were like, 1015 was one of the best episodes. And I haven't even watched it. I was not... That did not have the effect, at least on me, that I think you wanted it to have. I get irritable at that. I'm just like, no, you should watch the thing. Don't just talk out your ass, please. But you were saying it's because you were writing this before the episode had come out and were working on it, and that's why. I'm like, okay. Even though you are using footage from it and stuff, I still think you could have added a little bit of your impressions from the episode, maybe even like one sentence or something. Maybe like put reactions here, and you could have just screamed, and it would have been fun. Or kind of, I don't know. Not a big deal, not a big detractor or anything, because the real focus of this is talking about the episode director for 1015, but also the two other One Piece episodes. And I'm happy you included the footage, but I kind of wished that you put in like the corner somewhere that of like what episode it was, because you say, I mean, 57 and 982 is but like there was something weird about it, because that's what it is. Wait, I have to double check. I'm sorry, hold on. That's what I was confused about. Okay, yeah, because like when it says 957, 982, 1015, for some reason when I saw 982, I confused it in my head for 892, which is the first episode of Wano. And so, like, when you're showing the clips, I'm like, those are kind of recent episodes. Like, wait a minute. And when I saw like 957, I thought it was 857 for some reason. I just brain farted before I watched your video. I wanted to look at Beijing China because hear nothing but crazy shit about 1015. And the thing is, of course, I watched Roger's reaction to the episode, and I've seen plenty of clips and everything. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, but as someone who's watching One Piece right now, and I'm like, okay, but I'm not gonna watch the full episode until I get to it. Okay, But like the two caveats I gave myself, which was like I'm gonna be spoiled to the visuals regardless. I feel like that's gonna happen anyway, and I'm gonna be tempted and whatever. But I will not watch any clips with subs, and I won't watch anything with audio because I know that the sound design and the music choices are also I've heard are spectacular in that episode, and so I want those to be a surprise, and the physical what's being talked about. I know certain things because I also read Chapter 1000. I'm not a good One Piece fan, for the record, in terms of like spoiling myself. Look, I had gotten plenty of stuff through osmosis with One Piece before watching it, so it was kind of whatever for me in terms of like, and even still, there's plenty of moments where I knew about them, and yet the moment was even better than I was expecting because I didn't know the full context. So like, it's still going to be good for me. Whatever. Anyway, back to your video. So I actually got a little confused there with which episodes in particular, but like, I wish you kind of like put it in the corner or somewhere of like what a clip you were showing was from 57 or from 82 or whatever. Or from, you know, up 10-15. That one you can kind of tell because it's recent and whatever. But like, really like the focus and talking about the director more in depth. And you know, one thing I was kind of missing from it, and because I was reminded a lot of my hosted video, which is about his TV anime work at Toei, and I did leave a comment, so like, I'm just gonna be repeating myself here. So, and it will be a lot less eloquently worded because I'm always very like precise when I leave YouTube comments. So this is going to be a way worse. Maybe it's its own experience anyway. But like this video obviously reminded me of my hosted video talking about his episode work, and something I kind of wished from this video was specifics of like the things that she does that are evocative. And I liked the quote you brought up, although it wasn't the best, it wasn't really well translated. And I was like, because I read the whole thing before you brought it up, like you put it on screen, and before you start saying specifically what you're citing, I read the whole quote, and I'm like, this is not well translated. I'm like, oh well, it is what it is. But what was I saying? Crap. Quote. Yeah, I was just wondering like what kind of stuff that she does, because I think a lot of the impressive things that you're talking about with these episodes is the animation. And she's not animating everything. It's the coalescing and bringing on a lot of talent. And is she doing that, or are the producers doing it, or is the series director doing that? You know, or there's a lot of planning and a lot of other elements to it. But I think it's great that you're bringing up these quotes of the animators saying, holy shit, I've never seen a better storyboard in my life. You show one page, and it's better than that. Better than none. Like, that's still more than we get. I couldn't show any actual storyboards. I didn't look, to be fair, but I don't know if they exist for hosted as TV work. And like, yeah, it's impressive, but you show other ones and I'm like, you could tell, is it because it's colored? Like, you should give specifics, you know, of like you kind of also just showed it like this. You didn't zoom in. I would have liked to see it more in detail, or explain it a little bit. I'm sorry if I'm being a lot more nitpicky. In like the best, I liked this video a lot, mainly for the subject matter. Also, you're very timely. I also just liked how enthusiastic you were about it, and I just liked the video a lot. I'm just talking from someone who's like, actually, or just like as someone who's made a similar video, I guess. I do like your explanation of what a storyboard is. It's like the camera, but it's also like the flow of one scene to the next and how everything's paced. And I don't know, there's certain things, it's a broad subject for me because I always really like thinking about these sorts of things. But one thing I mentioned, I left a comment, which I rarely do, because, you know, I wanted to be precise with my wording, or I was just eager to write it, I guess. But like, you mentioned how you would really want to see Ishitane helm her own project, either a TV series or a movie or something. And she's done shorts, 1 minute short and some college stuff, and it all looks phenomenal. It's fucking insane. She's a very talented animator on top of being a talented storyboarder and episode director. And I agree. I think she could be one of the next kind of legendary people in that way. It is also a matter of just like getting the right project and the right sponsors for that project to get you the funding for it. And I don't know. I think there's just a lot of other qualities that would have to fall into place. I'm just trying to be a little more pragmatic, I guess. But also, and specifically what I was mentioning in my comment, that like I wouldn't wish it too fast, because the moment she starts doing original stuff in movies and she becomes like a big name, I mean, it is the case with Naoki Yamada where, but that's also a particular thing. She really grew up with a particular studio and really helped a lot of variety of different projects, both movies and TV series and stuff, and even doing some episode stuff. And then moving to, it's a different story, I guess, but it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. But you draw connections to Rie Matsumoto and Mamoru Hosoda, who both also worked at Toei, or started at Toei, and would graduate pretty much. But the idea of graduating, right? I don't think you say that in the video precisely. I'm just sort of like, I can understand if people consider this graduating, right? Because it's like, oh, what if they get this big prize? And it all looks, it's like 12 episodes of One Piece 1015. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that would be possible. I don't know. It would depend on the project. It would depend on the other people besides Ishitani, and the circumstances and everything. And hopefully it comes out like that. That'd be great. And sometimes it doesn't come out that way. I don't know. I don't give specific examples, I guess. But like, there is just something like really special about episodes that are standing out. That like a particular episode director is like, wow, that was a great episode. And I just want to, this is not on you in the video and stuff. I just want to use this like a launching off point, just a little tangent. I think it was at least twice on Twitter when this episode was coming out and stuff, that like people were just like complaining of like, oh, imagine if every episode was like this. Oh, if only every episode looked like this. Oh, if they just made it a seasonal show instead of a TV weekly show. No, it wouldn't look like this. It still wouldn't look like this. It's not the same thing. There's so many other aspects to making this sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know, it's just a miracle that like this stuff, that the show not only gets a standout episode like this, but that it gets to keep going. That it continues to run. They were also kind of fortunate in a way. A little kind of like, sure, Izuchani, the evidence is clear that she's a talented director. And I'm not disputing that. I'm also just pointing out and saying that this is the first episode that they come out with after they took weeks off. And they weren't working so much like on, like they can't do too much work on the assembling. It's not like they're, but like, and also these episodes take months and stuff like that. And there's other episodes that the animators are like, dude, fucking watch out. Like, holy shit, this thing's coming. But like, I would imagine that the amount of time they had from that break due to the Toei hack gives them the planning time to be like, we're going to get this person. We're going to schedule this person ahead of time to be here and be able to get this cut done or whatever. Or to have the creative bandwidth to make a storyboard this immaculate, and this whole thing that Ishitani kind of spacing out 22 episodes and people are kind of predicting what episode she's going to direct next time, and which chapter is that adapting and stuff like that. The speculation like that, I think, is a little harmful, mostly for yourself, who are the speculator, because you could very, very well get disappointed, I think. And that's a large, and that even extends to like story stuff, like One Piece as a whole, right? And with like mangaries and stuff like that. And it is broader, but I don't know. I guess that's a different subject. But like it is obviously not reflected in this video, but it was just kind of annoying to see on Twitter with like, imagine this was every week. I was like, oh, man, if only this could happen every week. And I maybe that's just being like earnest, like, yeah, wouldn't it be great? And I agree, it would be really great. That's just not how it works. It's just, I don't know. It just kind of feels like you're misunderstanding it. You know what I mean? Or not really realizing how difficult it is to make any episode of anime. It doesn't even have to look this incredible. There is a substantial amount of work in this episode, but there's also substantial amounts of work in the other ones that nobody is tweeting about, that like One Piece fans complain about all the time. It takes a lot of effort to make anime. I don't know. It's just sort of like rewarding one episode. Worth it, deserves it, of course. But then like kind of just disregarding the fact that like they're building all of this up and have been continuously being able to make this for a long time. I don't know. I think that also is worth celebrating and like good job. I don't know. Not to do with the video. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of using this as a platform just to vent, I guess. But yeah, I really like the video. But yeah, I kind of care for what you wish for with Ishitani moving on to other things, because I really like when an episode does this and it stands out and that they're kind of isolated, you know, and it's also just a short, instead of like a big movie or a 12 episode show where you have to kind of spread that attention, spread it out more. And that just happens. And I mean, it would be great. It would be awesome if they were all like this, but it's a lot harder than I think that it would be reckoned with, I think. But like for now, I think it's great that she's shining this way and everyone's giving her the credit. Everyone's starting to know her name, and it's such a high profile show that also deserves it. Not that I think every anime deserves the best possible, treatment and stuff, best possible translation, etc., etc. But just like, high profile, and it's also good that the material is very good to boot. It helps that One Piece is good, Yeah, I don't know. Just the thoughts, the One Piece thoughts, I guess. Great video. I really enjoyed it. Very timely. Well done on that. And then my favorite video of the week is from Jackisboy. Scott Pilgrim is in. And he hasn't been put out video on the main channel in a little while. What was that last one? 9 months ago. Oh. Sheesh. Fair enough. But it was just great seeing you back, and also just like real serious, like real. No, memes are put to the side for this one, boys. But they're like, you can tell that like the humor, the attention to detail when making these other videos and the experience as someone who makes videos, it totally just comes through, and there's absolutely no pretense, and it doesn't feel like, oh, pretty good for, or whatever. It doesn't, it completely falls away. And like, this is good shit. This is really good shit. It's similar to Beyond Animation's video, except you really follow through with this, I think, where I love that you're just constantly bouncing between the game, the comic, the movie, a little bit of the animated stuff, with no debate of which one's different or superior or anything. It just feels, it's all the same, and it feels kind of sporadic, and it doesn't feel like repetitive pattern, like, oh, now he's going to think, and it's like there's some, like, oh, now I'm in a cycle, or when it kind of, just to make it easier. But it feels like in that regard, since it feels kind of a little arbitrary almost, it actually makes it feel like you're showing the best possible moment to represent each thing that you're talking about, each scene, or that at least the ones that you're referring to, because a lot of it's from the comic, and it's not like it's necessarily shown in the game necessarily. I have to say, the moment, the last fifth, or like kind of last chunk of the video where your face cam and you're talking, that is way better than, at least to me, than like having your avatar. Your avatar's fine. but like I just felt like it was weird and kind of okay, like okay. But then when you do to the face, it just feels a lot more like personal, coming from you. I'm a lot more engaged, and I've said this about Joe from Pause and Selects videos as well. I think I may have seen it about Steven too. I don't know. Not that Steven's ever had like a contrast. I don't know. I always like seeing YouTubers' faces personally, because again, it's kind of the appeal of this platform almost. And I'm not saying it's a necessity, and there's plenty of other channels that do a great job without face cam. Sucked my own dick. Okay, fine, sure. No, but like, yeah, I just really like. I was just happy to see you like really give it 110%, and not you don't. You know, like you have it in other main channel videos, I think. But it just like a lot of the other videos was the tongue is always in the cheek with a lot of your recent videos, and here there was absolutely no like irony or like joke. And you know, it still has your sharp biting kind of humor. I love the part where like I hate Toronto, and I was like, no, I'm having a good time here, and like you film the two guys behind you, like that was funny. Stuff like that's great, and what we come to expect from your stuff, you know. But it doesn't. There was none of the again, none of the other stuff that this stuff was like a bad thing. I actually really enjoyed when you completely throw the video off the rails and just go on this tangent or like a big rant or something, and it feels very delusional or like surreal and weird and stuff. There's none of that in this. Again, I think it was good because I think it warrants that, because you're really trying to communicate the specific point and relate it to your own life. It just feels very like earnest, I guess. And none of the other stuff wasn't earnest. I don't know. I'm sorry I'm caveating your old stuff with this stuff so much, because I mean, I kind of feel like it's a little warranted because it's so drastic from what you normally make. In a way that's great. When I'm like, hell yeah, dude! I knew you were able to make something like this. And again, I don't want to try to conflate it as like this is better inherently than the irony stuff or like kind of the joke stuff, because I like that content from you. But you know, it's just like cool to see the variety or the multifacetedness that you are able to bring. And you know, I don't know. I also just liked bringing like kind of like the seeing a little bit of the like introspection with like Scott Pilgrim being kind of lazy and coasting and vibing, whatever. It really feels like you're coming from personal experience of like, that's the stuff that I'm doing right now, or just like I'm just reacting to he's comparing yourself to Mr. Beast doing this crazy shit where all you're doing is like this spilling the milk stuff. And I mean, I think that was very kind of a vulnerable moment, and like, you know, you're not digging spilling the milk or anything like that, but I think it was just like awareness, you know, just like, yeah, I mean, you know, that is what I'm doing, you know, compared to, you know, and really kind of feels like giving your all and stuff. And the editing and melodicness of some of the edits, it just feels really sharp and like, you know what the fuck you're doing. You're seasoned, you know. It's awesome to see, dude. I really like it. It was a really good video. Really great job. Okay, that'll do it for this installment of AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.